Hello. This is K&K Speaks, and thank you so much for coming back. They came back for part 2 of IEPs and info.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember everything, but it's like 504, BIP, IEP, IDEA, FAP. Yeah, you're asking me to remember a lot, man. Testing my short-term memory here.
It's better than mine.
I don't know. If you're writing a report on my short-term memory, it might be kind of scary.
Will be 6 pages.
Yeah, might be more. I don't know. All right, so we left off in part 1 on the key points about BIP. And BIP was
Behavior intervention plan.
Yeah. So, check out part 1 as we kind of went through some general information. So, are we going to get into the meat and potatoes?
I don't know if it's the meat and potatoes, but like I have things to say to administrators. And when I say administrators, I mean like faculty members, superintendent, principals, like the whole shebang. Like paras, I don't want to say everything. So when I say administrators, I'm counting everybody, every adult that works in the school.
Yeah. And I think throughout this whole entire concept, what have we been saying? Well, maybe specifically about you.
That I feel very passionate about this.
And
it pisses me off.
And
I'm amazing.
We're going to quote Miley Cyrus here.
Oh, I Katie's
coming like a wrecking ball.
Katie's gentle, I'm a pit bull.
I can be a pit bull sometimes too.
You can, but I just come in smashing.
You're fiery. You match your hair.
Yeah. Well, it needs recolored, but anyway.
All right. So,
oh man,
moving on to the meat and potatoes. I'm just gonna label it that. I already said it.
Okay.
And I kind of just like saying it.
So, I just want to remind everybody that your IEP, your 504, BIP are legally binding contracts. What is said in there and how to help your child is what the school is supposed to be doing. With that, I want to add that administration, the adults in the school, cannot add or take away from the IEP without parental consent. So the parent has to sign on it. You can make amendments to your IEP at any time, or 504. I've had schools say, we're 3 months away. Let's just wait. We're 3 months from this annual. No, this needs to be done today. His disability is not going to stop for 3 months.
Yeah.
And you can have an IEP done in the summer.
I do think I've heard of that.
Yeah, you can. They don't want to, and I get it, but it can be done. And I just want to say an amendment or any changes to your IEP does not change the anniversary date. So if your IEP starts September 1 and you need to make an amendment or a change on October 12th, your annual review is still September 1. Mm-hmm. So don't let that stop you. Oftentimes, really gets me going. Gets my goat. Oftentimes when parents mention IEPs or 504s, the school will say, let's do a response to intervention, an RTI. No. The Department of Education has specifically posted a memo that you can print out and or download an email to the school and be like, see, U.S. Department of Ed is like, don't do this. So what you can say is like, sorry, I'm geeking out. So the Department of Ed is like, don't do this. You can't use an RTA to delay or deny services. So when the school's like, let's use an RTI, your response can be, the Department of Ed has been reminding schools that you cannot use this to delay or deny services. You are denying my child an opportunity to find out how they learn best and what interventions are needed. Done. Mic drop.
It's okay to rewind that and listen to it
I
again.
talk really fast. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's okay to rewind that and then write it down.
Yeah.
And rewind it and write it down if you didn't catch all of it. It's
Yeah.
okay. I do that sometimes.
Oh my gosh. When a parent asks, so the second thing is when a parent asks for a BIP, a behavior intervention plan, and the school says they don't do that until something happens. In my head, I'm like, so you're waiting for like a chair to be chucked at somebody and an arm to be broken before you're gonna intervene? Okay. So what you can say is my child has a behavior that is impacting their ability to learn, and their behaviors are more significant than what the general education teacher can provide solely. And if they still are like, nope, not doing that, they are legally supposed to give you a written notice for refusing a functional behavior assessment. And if you get that, or if you don't, you can still file for due process or mediation. And then once the Department of Ed is like, why aren't you doing a BIP? Then the school will get in gear. But it's still annoying.
You can rewind that too. As many times as you need.
There was something I was going to say. It'll come back to me. Some things I've heard a lot is when administration says, we don't do that here. That's not right. So what you can say is that a policy of the school district that you don't do that? And if they say yes, then you say, great, may I see that policy? And then you contact me and I'll come in.
Again, I got a real good mental picture or a visual of you riding the wrecking ball and crashing into the school. Singing.
I would.
Song.
I 1,000% would do that.
I think not like Miley Cyrus because I think she's naked. So I think you might put some clothes.
I will put some clothes on
if you're gonna crash into the school. Okay.
So like
then you can mic drop.
Yes, the mic drop. So like I said, the school receives federal dollars for your child who has an IEP or 504. And while they may not have done that specific intervention, you can always say, great, there's a time to learn everything. Like, there's a first time for everything. Let's do this. Don't make me call Rebecca. Okay.
Everybody's going to picture you on that wrecking ball. Be like, wrecking ball.
No, that song's going to be stuck in my head.
Yeah, just demoing schools everywhere. Like,
listen, I'm all about it.
Poor schools.
It's fine.
I don't know what's coming.
This one has happened to me personally when my kid was in elementary school. The IEP team says that they are removing a service because your child is getting good grades and doesn't need it anymore. Meeting goals doesn't mean you don't need special education or the disability doesn't stop happening. Goals are written so they are achievable, and the next thing should be taught on that. So let's set up a meeting to adjust my child's IEP. But they just can't take away services because your child's doing well.
Well, maybe something to also discuss is maintaining. So have they gotten to a level where they've been able to maintain whatever level they're at?
Yeah.
That's maybe something to talk about too or consider.
Yeah.
So there's right supports in place for them to be successful. So that plan needs to continue so they can continue to be successful. So just because they're doing great, don't take away the stuff that's helping them. So.
Right, because then they'll call you and be like, I don't understand what's happening. And you're like, well, you took it away.
Yeah. Took things that were working. So.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Another one I've heard is the school administration says we don't do IEPs here. Your response can be, are all public schools are required by IDEA to provide a free and appropriate public education to children with disabilities. Let's set up a meeting to discuss this further. I have put a link to the IDEA website if you have further questions. That's my favorite. I also like to do screenshots and slap it in an email.
She does, trust me.
I also want to add that the IEP is like a living document. So, like I said, you can make amendments and changes. It's not written in stone,
Yes.
if that makes sense. I mean, it is written in stone, but you can't make changes. Okay.
Makes sense to me. I hope it's making sense to you.
Here's where this got me started. The school takes away recess as a punishment. They can't. Actually, just recently, a couple years ago, Iowa passed the student wellness policy, and in there, it talks about like what your kid should be being offered at lunch, and how many hours of physical activity they're supposed to get at school related to grade level. So you can say there is a requirement for physical activity through the student wellness policy. And I would like to see your policy where they can take away recess as a punishment. They can't because the student wellness policy is a federal thing. Sorry about your luck.
So, if there might be like a behavior or they're falling behind, maybe they have assignments to complete, nobody can hold them in or they cannot lose a recess for those reasons or anything else. So,
Yeah, I think Iowa's students are supposed to have 100. I'm not going to say it because I'm not 100% sure. 100 some odd minutes for physical activity, and recess is included in that number.
so if you're having that situation,
Call me.
You're gonna have. I know what happens. Then you're gonna have like 1,000 like phone calls. I know what's happening. So that's why we're doing this video. So if you're having that issue, we encourage you with these examples of maybe how to respond and what to say. So if that is happening to the child that you're caring for or your child, please make sure that you are having a collaborative discussion with the school.
Yeah. Side note, maybe not a side note, but if you move or change districts but stay in state, the new school district has to start your child's IEP right away. This happened to one of my clients last spring when they moved to a different school district. The school was like, we can't implement that. Okay. The new school district is not required to use the previous IEP, but they also must provide comparable services until a new IEP is in place. And the school has to hold an IEP meeting within 30 days of the transfer, but during that 30 days, the old IEP remains valid. So
Good stuff to know.
I won that one too. Another one, an example is a child had a meltdown and the adults in the school called the child's sibling to come out to help de-escalate the child. It is not, this is what you can say, it is not the sibling's responsibility to help the trained adults at the school to de-escalate my child. And is the sibling that got called out of class, are those minutes going to be made up of missed class time? Because in Iowa, they changed it from days to minutes, and we're supposed to have like 1,080 minutes of school.
Yeah. That oftentimes, like, we also talk and work with the siblings, and that puts a lot of pressure on the siblings as well. So I know that the siblings really want to help as much as they can, but they also note about just being recognized, of being pulled out of their class and needing to go help, their family. So, I know that the sibling that's being pulled out to help also struggles with that a lot.
Yeah, a lot of staring, bullying, whispers. It's not cool. Plus, they're there to learn and be with their friends and try to have some normalcy.
Yeah.
A lot of issues have starting to stem up with the general ed students using the calm down room to just like hang out. General ed students have the ability to regulate themselves. They're in general ed. They don't have any disabilities that impair them from accessing the general education curriculum. They need an IEP to access that room. So if you find out that Brenda is using the calm down room and your child is unable to access it and it's in their IEP, you can call somebody, email, whatever, or just call me. Yeah, that's not
Lodge a
good.
complaint or something.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen where schools have tried to force children into virtual classes because they don't have the space for them for in-person, or they don't have the personnel administration to deal with the child, so on and so forth. If that happens, ask them to see the policy and ask if this is the least restrictive environment. And then you can also say, it sounds like you're denying my child a free and accessible public education. It's my favorite line.
There you go. And if they absolutely don't have the space, what?
Oh, then the LEA comes in, and then they have to do an out of district or out of school placement, and they have to pay for transportation for your student to go to an in-person school.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. This one happens a lot, is the school calls you and says for you to come pick up your child because they're being disruptive.
Yes.
There's lots of ways to answer this.
Yes. I have two parents. So I see the parent, and they often are called to go pick up their child. They are often called by the school just to de-escalate their child.
No.
And the other one was that that the parent is called to go pick up the child because they've been disruptive. And
Well, I have some things to help that parent. Okay, you ready?
Ready to rewind this. Write it down.
So there's lots of things you can say. You can say, are you denying my child a free and accessible public education? You can just say that. You can ask, is my child being suspended or is ill? Ask them, how will this time be made up? Because they have to have 1,080 minutes in Iowa. I don't know what it is for anybody or anywhere else. Are other students with IEP plans being dismissed early? Because if not, that's discrimination. Are the gen ed students being dismissed early? No, that's also discrimination. You can ask them, have you followed their IEP plan? Have you followed their BIP? You do not have to pick up your child for disciplinary reasons unless your child has been suspended for violating the code of conduct. And every school district has their own, handbook, that's the word, with the code of conduct. So you're going to want to keep the handbook. You're probably going to want to print it out and have it.
Put it in that binder.
Put it in the binder, highlight some
Folder.
things, yeah. So just another note is your child can only be suspended from school for only 10 days in one school year. After that, if your child who has an IEP and is being suspended for more than 10 days, the IEP team must meet to conduct a manifestation determination to assess if the student's behavior was a direct result of their disability. So ADHD, I can't think of any, ODD, did some of those mental symptoms, mental health symptoms cause this. And then the manifestation determination will assess the student's behavior. And then most often a functional behavior assessment will happen, which results in a BIP. So yeah. And then like on the flip side of this, I've had parents who are like, I am so sick of dealing with the school. I'm just going to homeschool them because I'm just done. While yes, that could be a thing you can do, but it's not a good idea to homeschool your child who has autism or ADHD, because the reality is when you won't be able to isolate your child when they're an adult, and they won't gain the skills needed to deal with situations and people out in the real world. I mean, but you do you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then at this point, if you are still getting phone calls, you can ask to have an IEP meeting. And you go through every single intervention and ask, what does it look like? You want to have them present to you, because if they are calling you, they're supposed to be documenting this. And they're supposed to give you a copy of all these things. And you need to be asking for the copies of all these things to put in your binder. So they're supposed to be presenting that at the IEP meeting if your child is continuously having behaviors. If they don't have it, then that's on them, and that's their problem, not a you problem. Any alternative placements needed, IEP must be followed, and this is considered an out-of-district placement, and the LEA must pay for transportation. I just said that. If your 504 is not being met, you can call or contact the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights and file a civil rights complaint because your accommodations in your 504 aren't being met. They're super nice, I guess. I've never had to do it because I'm just a wrecking ball. This one is starting to be problematic. Your child has a one-on-one, so like a para that's with them all day to help with their behaviors. And the school suddenly decides to change it to 2 kids to 1 para because they just don't have enough paras. Or 1 student to 2 paras, or 2, whatever. They can't do that because the school is denying your child a free and accessible public education. And the school has not delivered to the conformity of the IEP. So if the IEP says a one-on-one, it has to be a one-on-one. They can't change the ratio. Yeah. Sometimes administration will call a parent and say, can your kids stay home today because we don't have a special education teacher to teach, and we don't know what to do. No, don't do that. They are essentially denying your child a free and accessible public education. And you just say, nope, sorry about your luck. We'll be there at 8:05. I feel like I'm just yapping. Let's see. If you feel like your child's IEP services or accommodations aren't being met, you can reach out to the school and tell them that these accommodations aren't happening and it's denying my child a free and accessible public education, and ask how the school would like to rectify that. And based on their answer, you can get an advocate, but do give them a chance to fix it. Because some of these IEPs are pages long.
Yeah, they are very, very long. And like, we mentioned in part 1, we really are not like here to just like womp on schools or anything like that. We really encourage collaborative efforts, really try and work with the schools. The school's not your enemy by any means. So, have those, calm conversations, because coming in there yelling and screaming to the school, to teachers, that's not going to accomplish anything. So try and have those calm and collaborative discussions, and you can definitely say, I'm very frustrated at this, and you can be assertive, definitely. And there is a difference between being assertive and being aggressive. So you can definitely take a more assertive stance.
Yeah. If the data shows that the teacher failed to meet your child's goals, so if they're saying, yeah, the kid's not passing, and the data shows it's like the teacher's fault, then the onus is on the LEA to call an IEP meeting to look at adjusting these goals, criteria, or program or product that is given to the student to help them to achieve, to be included in the general education curriculum. Flip side, parents have the right to not grant consent for the initial provision of services for the IEP, and that just means that child will fail. And I mean, you can just tell the parent that, like, okay, if you're not signing, then this is the consequences. Your child's gonna fail. Some schools try to have a shortened day or a shortened week for students with IEPs. This is also a bane of my existence. You can say, you are confident my child won't be impacted by their disability on the 5th day. If they have a disability, they need services daily, and the school takes funds for 5 days, not 4. And just leave it at that. Also, shortened school days are last resort. There needs to be 5 million other things coming ahead before this school is like, we're just going to send your kid home at 1 because they can't deal. The school cannot shorten your student's school day due to staffing, substitute teachers, so on and so forth. This is discrimination, and they're not allowing your child to have a free and accessible public education. But before this happens, there needs to be evaluations, assessments, BIPs, out of district placement, they have a challenging behavior team. And if it does come down that your child has shortened days, there needs to be a reintegration plan within 45 days of altered school days. And how is that child gonna get that time made up? Because the school's not gonna come knocking on your kid's door when they're 25 and be like, sorry, we need to make up the 10 days. And from 2nd grade, so.
6,250 minutes.
Yes, so can you come back? That's just not gonna happen. So yeah, those are some common things that the schools that I've come across for schools, and it's infuriating.
Yeah. And you also struggled to come across a type of like information guide or anything like that for parents when you were kind of really delving into your research on this, correct?
Yeah, so what they do is they just print out the idea, idea, and they just give it. And they're like, here's your rights as a parent this is what we're supposed to do. But like, first of all, if you have a child with special needs and a disability, the parent's not going to have time to sit down and read that, go through the legalese, and figure it out, sparse it out, and try to figure out who does what, when, and where, and what all the acronyms mean. Good Lord.
Yeah, there was a lot. Like I said, short-term memory test. I don't know if I passed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
But those are some things that you can say. You can rewind and write it down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rewind.
Yeah.
Like the old Blockbuster, like,
oh my God.
machine.
Be
like,
kind,
rewind.
please rewind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, did you kind of put like a resource, kind of like a guide with this information, kind of like together? Or were you working on that?
It's almost completed, and it will be in the comment section.
Okay.
When this is posted, there will be like a little arrow thing of how to do it, and I'll link you to the IDEA website, Iowa's terrible website. Oh, I remember what I wanted to say. So Iowa privatized AEA. So I have no idea what it's going to look like this year.
Okay.
I have no idea, and I don't think anybody knows. So that means if you need an assessment, I don't know if the school's going to continue to use Grantwood AEA or if they're going to use Joe Schmo down the street to do an assessment. I guess they have that right now, and nobody really knows what it's going to look like. So I'll be learning along with everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah, so we hope that, again, you got some information from part 1 and 2. We would really encourage you to watch both parts so that you would get kind of the full scope and information. Again, I know you probably saw more of our frustrations with things that we kind of come across, but again, we're not trying to bash schools at all. We really, really encourage collaborative efforts with all parties involved and to approach things in as calm of a manner as possible. You can make sure to stand your ground, but you don't need to be as aggressive. You can be assertive. And I think that's a big difference on how to approach things to try and get things changed and be more effective. So thanks again for watching, guys, and we will keep coming at you. Thanks for returning each time. Spread the word about K&K Speaks. Tell your friends, colleagues, grandma, grandpas, aunts, uncles.
Yeah. Make sure you hit, like, subscribe, and share? Is that what they say?
Yeah.
I'm such a
I was just trying to
millennial.
think of like people, like
I don't know.
bosses, like just pull it up. I mean, Halloween's coming up. If you go to a Halloween party, just put us on the big screen.
Oh my God, don't do that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.